Comparative and absolute advantages are helpful when analyzing trade deals. So let's look at the PPFs for both US and Canada. So just a rough sketch for both of them. We have, here's the US, and then here's Canada. So we're told that each of these countries makes the same two goods. So we're going to put boots on the x-axis and shirts on the y-axis. All right. So these graphs are given to us, but I'm going to draw them so we can play with the questions and look at the answers graphically. Okay, so we're told that the US, this is their function. I'm going to draw it a bit steeper. So we have like that. There we go. So the maximum amount of shirts they can make is 12 if they make no boots. And then if they make no shirts, they can make 4 boots. And then for Canada, they can make 6 of each if they don't make the other. Right, so theirs looks much more even, just like that. All right, so the first thing to look at is comparative advantage. So how we're going to do that, I'm going to scroll down a bit, is what you want to do is look at how many total amount of shirts and boots each country can make, right? So the US can make 12 shirts and 4 boots. So we want to put that in terms of one another because the opportunity of making 12 shirts is what? It's 4 boots, right? So for every 12 shirts, we lose 4 boots. So if we want to find out what the opportunity cost of making 1 shirt is, we simply divide 4 over 12, right? And that's going to give us 1/3. So the opportunity cost of 1 shirt is 1/3 boot. And then if we do the same thing over here, if we divide 12 by 4, we get the opportunity cost of 1 boot is going to be 3 shirts. Okay, so that's for the US. Now let's take a look at Canada. So Canada is pretty easy. Since we have 6 total of each that you can make if you don't produce the other one. Right, so we have 6 shirts and 6 boots. So for every 6 shirts that you make, you lose 6 boots. So that means that the opportunity cost of 1 shirt is going to be 6 divided by 6, which is just 1. Right, and then the opportunity cost of 1 boot is the same because 6 divided by 6 is still 1. Okay, so what we want to look at in comparative advantage is see which nation has a lower opportunity cost for each good. Right, so let's look at shirts. So for every 1 shirt that we make, we lose 1/3 boot. Over here in Canada, for every 1 shirt that we make, we lose 1 whole boot. So that means that US has a comparative advantage in shirts because we don't have to lose as many boots to get 1 shirt. Right, over here we lose 1 boot, and over here we only lose 1/3. So the US has a comparative advantage for shirts. Now let's look at boots. For every 1 boot that we make in the US, we lose 3 shirts. But in Canada, we only lose 1 shirt. So that means Canada has a lower opportunity cost and it has a comparative advantage. Okay, now absolute advantage means simply how much they can make on their PPFs if they don't make the other, right? So neither country has an absolute advantage in both goods. The US has the absolute advantage in shirts, but Canada has the absolute advantage in boots, right? Because 6 is greater than 4 and 12 is more than 6. Now, if these 2 countries were to trade, they can definitely benefit from that situation, and we can show that on the graph. So in the current situation, they're both making 3 boots, 3 boots and 3 shirts. So we'll put that right about here on the US graph, and then right in the middle over here. So 3 boots and 3 shirts. Now, let's say in a hypothetical situation that Canada were to say, okay, so if they trade, they're both going to specialize. So that means Canada's making 6 boots because it has the comparative advantage in boots, and then the US will be making all 12 shirts because it has a comparative advantage, right? So we're going to start, let me draw that in red. This is our starting point before we trade. We're specializing, so the US is only making shirts and Canada is only making boots. Now let's say that Canada said, okay, so we will make 6 boots, and then we want to keep 3. All right, so if we're keeping 3, we'll trade 3. So we're trading 3 boots over to the US. So US says, okay, if we're getting 3 boots back, that means that we're staying here, right? But if we're trading, that means we want to get more shirts than we would if we didn't trade, right? So, and on the same token, Canada wants more than 3 shirts back for it to be worth it, right? It doesn't want to be in the confines of what it could be if it didn't trade anyway. So what the US might do, they'll say, okay, we will keep 6 shirts and give you 6, right? So now they're at 3, 6, so they have 3 boots and 6 shirts, right? So they're giving Canada 6 shirts. And then over here, we're getting 6 shirts and 3 boots. So both of these countries are outside of their original production possibility frontier, which means that this trade was worth it.